Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Anfield View podcast. Hope you're all keeping well. Chance to sort of bask in not one, not two, three. Yes, three Liverpool Premier League wins in a row. It's a miracle. But yes, we did it. We beat Crystal Palace 2-1. Keep forgetting the magical Verts goal at the end. 3-1 in the end. Did predict a 2-1 win. So pretty much as we've got obviously the last one, so just missed out on the prediction. Damn it! But always nice to see Vert score a goal and what a goal it was. Pretty much as we expected it to be. We knew it would be a tough game. Could it have been a different result if Palace had taken their chances, a bit like Everton? Yes. But let's really sort of get straight into this, the nook and cranny, the nuts and bolts, the thick of it, for whichever one of those you want to choose on that front, guys. Look, essentially, has the last sort of three league wins really sort of papered over cracks, or is it us sort of turning a corner? I think, look, ultimately, the running theme that I can sort of give, to the team, including the manager, on this, regardless of if he's there for next year or not, is the fact that the mindset and the work rate is there for the last three games. Does it help if you're only playing one game a week? Sure. But equally, you'd obviously have to question that once again, it would circle back round as to why our fitness is just so abject and why we're so slow in all these different elements. Um, yes, look, ultimately, the mindset's there, the work rate's there, the talent is still there in where with certain players. And the one thing that worries you, I suppose, is the fact that Robertson put in another great performance as he does on the weekend, and obviously Robertson is leaving. Salah, at least from a numbers perspective, obviously has picked up over those few games. Obviously, sad to see him go off on the weekend as well. Not sure if that's sort of the last hurrah for him, which would be sad if he isn't back for any more minutes this year. And the question mark still remains. The good news is, which when we saw with Isak, okay, he sort of scuffed it in, but equally that's what he's a predator. He's what he is. He's there to be able to really put the ball away. With sort of clinical sort of surgeon, ease, which is what he's a great striker. I don't. The question mark on Verts and Isak isn't about their ability; it's how best we can get that ability out of them to really maximise the team's performance. And for the periods that Isak's sort of been at the team, you could argue obviously the fitness related. I think that the team has just struggled to adapt to having a full on number nine, like a proper out and out old school Torres striker. Different striker to Torres, but I mean, literally somebody leading the line completely. And people go, "Oh, yeah, but Mo Salah's like, yeah, but Mo Salah essentially is a glorified winger that doesn't necessarily it plays, in a different way to Mane, if that makes sense. Both him and Mane are very similar. Both wingers, they're not forwards. They're not number nines. They're not number tens either. They're like a hybrid, sort of inverted winger slash full. They're not really a forward. That's the thing. They're just very high performing wingers. A bit like John Barnes back in the day when he played for Liverpool. I think he had one. Well, we had many a great season. We had one or two absolutely phenomenal season from a scoring perspective. And that's very much sort of what Mo Salah's been able to sustain. John Barnes would have, in fairness to him, if he hadn't sort of ruptured his own Achilles, I think it was, that took the pace away from him. But I do think that, where Liverpool are is how do we best really extrapolate, or just really get the sort of ROI in terms of the amount of money we've invested out of Isak and Verts. How do we put a system in place that's there to suit them both, that equally isn't affecting the team in such a dramatic fashion that we can't function? And that's probably the biggest question mark for us moving forward is with all the changes that are going on, you've got Salah leaving, you've got Robertson leaving, you've got question marks still over Canate hasn't signed his contract, I don't believe at the moment, although the rumours are they will. Question marks over, a lot of question marks over Allison. I think his coach is leaving, and I think the fact that it could well be, opening up the all roads lead look like he could be leaving this summer as well, which means you're missing the output of Mo. Granted, it's been awful this year, but we're still going to replace it because we haven't replaced it during this year. That's one of the problems have been. So you've got Mo leaving, you've got Robertson leaving, you've got Allison leaving. There's question marks over Curtis Jones, where he wants to stay because of game time. There's question marks over Alexis McAllister and what really is the future of Alexis McAllister, because we seem to be playing, sort of Gravenberch and Szoboszlai. The future is that obviously those two, the question mark is the third. Is the third person. The one thing we've learned from this year is Jones, whether it's Jones, McAllister, Gravenberch, or Allison, or McAllister instead of Jones in that midfield, all three of them can't work in that midfield, and their team badly needs. It just needs more energy, and it needs a more defensive mindset, and we obviously need more pace in the wings. We've always sort of rehashed these different elements. So do I feel that these performances have really turned a corner? Look, I definitely feel that the first half against Man City, the second leg against PSG, and the league games, at least the mindset has been and the work ethic's been there. Equally, I still feel we need to build our confidence back. I feel the system's not set in stone because we are missing crucial parts to really make this work. We need more pace, we need more fitness, we need more speed, we need more strength, we need more depth, we need to find out the solution of this. The problem that Liverpool have at the moment is you've got whatever style Slot wants to play, which obviously isn't Jurgen's old style. Whatever style that is, it's not the style that we were sort of sold on. I'm not saying with Slot should stay or go. I'm just saying whatever style he really wants to play, it blatantly isn't the same style as what Jurgen played, and then that is what it is. But I'm just saying it blatantly isn't. It looks like he's trying to go far, far more towards a Dutch style of play, which I'm just 100% convinced it can't work in this league. I've yet to see it work. And playing a tiki-taka, sort of intricate football with the world's best stars, as in Man City, that's okay when you've got one of sort of the originators of that system in terms of Guardiola coaching it. One, Slot's not Guardiola by a country mile. And two, when that worked, it's only really worked at Barca, at Spain, and obviously Man City, and that's predominantly because of the world's best stars were playing it. It's this. The question we all have to ask ourselves really is the style that Slot wants to play, the style that we're buying players for, the current makeup of the squad. How much of it is already there that can execute whatever his vision is, or whatever the vision he's trying to achieve and the club are trying to achieve? Do we have the elements that are even there to execute that? And if they're not, have we brought the right players for the way he wants to play, or we just bought great players but not to play the system he wants to play? And so we end up in a bit of a Man United scenario where you're buying players but it doesn't suit how the manager wants to play, or vice versa. You've got the wrong manager and not the wrong players. And that's the question mark of Liverpool at the moment, is that, okay, do we have the right manager, but the wrong players to suit his system? Or do we have the wrong manager and the right players? Because we're in that sort of juxtaposition at the moment where, if you think about the nature of the squad, a lot of players are leaving, and there'll be a few more that leave on top of the ones I've mentioned. We still question marks on McAllister, Jones, apart from, obviously the ones that we know about were in terms of Robbo, in terms of Mo. Alisson looks like he's more likely to go as well. And then pretty much the entire squad is gone, from a few years ago. And there's a lot of questions, isn't there? In terms of, okay, these results, are they paper and cracks? Yes, but I feel that's, to play sort of fair to the situation. I don't think you can really do much more at this point when the squad blatantly has massive deficiencies in it. And certain personnel in the squad just aren't going to improve. I don't see McAllister. McAllister's not got better throughout the season. So I don't know what the issue is with McAllister, but whatever it is, we have to make a decision on, what are we doing with him ultimately, because he's pretty much started at a low base at the start of the season and basically hasn't moved all season. Can we get last year's version of Gravenberch back? Does that still exist? Was that an anomaly? That is the question. Like, we haven't seen back-to-back seasons like that from Gravenberch. He's obviously, what has highlighted this year is, once again, well, I never saw Gravenberch as being the solution to the defensive midfielder problem, but it seemed to just solve the problem last year, but not completely solve it. It seemed to paper over that crack, but be very effective. But this year, it's been completely found out. It feels like Gravenberch has been found out this year, and Slot's tactics have been found out. And McAllister's, it just feels like he's exhausted. He's got a World Cup to come, so he isn't going to be fresh come the new season. So what do we do with that situation? I will say, look, in terms of turning a corner, look, from a fan's perspective, thank God we've had something to cheer about. I'm hearing a lot of, sort of, but we're finishing the top three or top four, and that sort of objective done for the season. And yeah, it's been a bad season, but we still ended up finishing the top four. So and I'm all for believe it or not, I'm all for positive thinking, but I equally come from the perspective that, hey, come on, let's not forget the reason we're finishing in the top. So if we do get into year one, we've got 5 places, which is a ridiculous amount, be able to get into the Champions League anyway. And we're getting in there because look at who we're competing against to get in. Chelsea have gone through 2-3 managers who have been horrendous. We're not, Man United have sacked a manager this year who just in front of us. We're not, and Aston Villa have got one of the smallest squad in the Premier League, can't spend a penny, and they're competing on multiple fronts and still ahead of us. So let's put some perspective to this. Like, to finish while I would be relieved for us to finish in the top 5. But objective done. No, objective was to win the title. Objective was to at least bare minimum compete for the title. Objective was to beat them. This rebuild that we mostly brought upon ourselves. 90% of this rebuild was brought upon ourselves. I'm not saying, look, Jota, tragedy, obviously we love him. That, of course not. Mo's complete drop off cliff, no, I get it. But equally, we knew what was happening with Trent for a long time. That can't be used as an excuse. And the rest of the squad rebuild is down to us. We knew when Isak was coming to us, he was unfit. And we said it in the press conferences for 3 months. It was going to take forever to get him fit. And, I know, yes, I get the broken leg towards the end in Ekiteke just recently. Well, Ekiteke is more applicable to next year than it is to now. And people go, yeah, but if you had Isak fit, then Ekiteke wouldn't have had to play as many games. Look, my aunt was my uncle. Also, the nature of sports is that there isn't one team that doesn't have serious injuries throughout the season. That happens to everyone all of the time. Jesus, cry me a river on that one. If you think we've got problems, we don't have problems. Look at Spurs. Spurs lost people for the season before the season even started. And we spent a ridiculous amount of money which they don't spend. So like, look, we haven't had anything extraordinary outside of the Jota factor. And yes, it's not great. Of course, it's not when you lose your star man, coming up to December for the for half the season in terms of Isak. But we did have him for from sort of September for 3 months, albeit we was just trying to get him fit all the time. But that we knew that at the point. So I think we've turned a corner in terms of mindset. If I feel we turned a corner in terms of at least seeing some glimmers of what we know is there in terms of Isak and Verts. Are we seeing enough? Look, of course we're not, but we're just not going to see it over the next few weeks. Like say, in all the videos that I've put out, the objective is just get the Champions League, dust ourselves down, a review of this season, analysis of this season, and look, it's been woeful. It's all gone wrong pretty much. Nothing's gone right throughout the season. There's almost next to nothing's gone right at any point. A few Szoboszlai goals, Rio, a few flashes of Ekiteke, and even he tailored off because he was having to work too hard. That's it. That's it, really. We got nothing. I mean, I'm trying to find more positives. You can maybe say Kirk has improved from January. Nothing else. There really is nothing else, on that front. We've got the bare minimum out of Verts. We've seen flashes of Isak. Yeah, it is what it is, So moving forward, I think positive results in the last three, from the mindset, the work rate, still question marks over the structure, still question marks over the squad. So essentially, we've sort of done both. Have the results papered over cracks? Yes, gigantic chasms. Have they turned a corner in some aspects? Yes. We haven't seen a proper performance for Liverpool outside of like Galatasaray, who we basically know their record on waveform is horrific, so we can pretty much gloss over that one. We haven't seen an actual performance that resembles whatever we're trying to put together pretty much all season. So whatever it is we are trying to put together with the system from Slot and the players that we're bringing in, we've yet to really see it at any point. Are we likely to see it now between now and the end of the season? Likelihood probably no. I can't. You'd question whether we're going to see us play even better against Man United than what we did. In other games that have gone by that are either easier or harder. We didn't really do it at PSG, didn't do it at Man City. So we didn't really perform that great. We just showed a bit of heart and determination against Everton. Are we likely to see a dramatically better performance? We live in hope. My expectations pretty low on that front, guys. I think if we're all honest, look, I'm surprised we got past Everton and we sort of only just, but who cares? We got the win, but in general sense, we do care because just to give us a barometer of really where we're at in terms of longevity, and you can only sustain, certain sort of iffy performances for so long. I don't think the performances have been poor in the last 3 league games, but they certainly haven't been anything to really for you to hang your hat on to really say, well, that's the foundation for where we're going to put a title challenge. It is what it is, but we've had the season that we've had, and we're trying to just sort of piece it together and try and finish with as minimal damage as possible. I suppose it's damage and limitation time, isn't it, really? Hopefully, we're looking in great position now to scramble over the line, get it done. Look, we're all desperate for a win against Man United, and a performance on top would be wonderful. Look, just get the win, or don't get beaten heavily, either or. We've got Villa, then obviously Chelsea at home, Brentford. So a couple of home games with Chelsea and Brentford, even if we do struggle in the tough away games. Villa one would be interesting with their Europa League. So yeah, quick video for you get today, guys. What do you think? Do you think we've sort of papered over the cracks. I think the last three results have sort of papered over giant chasms. But which can only fundamentally be solved with 3 to 4 key transfers. In the summer, will we get them? Will Slot, really have the mindset and sort of fortitude to understand what's needed? In terms of a pacey winger, in terms of maybe 2 pacey wingers, in terms of a defensive midfielder. Will we get them? I'm not in the mindset of Slot. All I know in my experience of watching football, Dutch managers and the way they want to approach and play the game are very fixated on what they want to do. Can he be pragmatic enough to actually accept what's really required to do to actually get the best out of the players that we have now, and to essentially get the best out of the players to perform in this league? You can play having the style that you want. Do you know what? You get to keep it. For wins or losses, you get to keep. Yeah, great, you get to keep it. If you don't get the results and performances, you lose your job based on it. We all get to to pick and choose how we want to work and what we want to do. And this is the same thing with Slot. It's like you put a style and approach in place. That's wonderful, but equally, are you putting it in place because that's how you want the team to perform, or how you feel it's best to perform in this league? And I think sometimes, look, Jurgen Klopp had the best of both worlds. The physicality approach, the mindset approach, the team ethic approach works well in this league, in terms of the energy, in terms of the tactics. So one, it was entertaining, so it's great for the fans. Two, it worked very well in terms of dealing with the sort of challenges of this league. I wouldn't say the Premier League's a technical league, is it? Let's be honest. You go to the Liga for that. And I would say, essentially, we're less harem scarum compared to Germany, which is just flat out attack left and right. Every game's 6-3. There's almost no defending essentially in that game. Nobody really cares about defending; it's just sort of full on attack. Whereas this league is in the middle in that respect. And my question marks are I can't see the vision at the moment. Apart from stating the obvious that he's obviously got Kirkus to essentially bomb down the left, Frimpong to bomb down the right. They're meant to be the creators. You would think, because they're both attacking fullbacks. So I've yet to see that much creativity from the fullback position when they play there. Frimpong, when he plays on the wing, Kirkus in very small bits. And whether they perform much better when we've got a defensive midfielder or a fitter midfield, I don't know. That's the question mark for me. I just haven't seen them move on and then the midfield slot back. And the problem is, when they do move on, nobody in the midfield has got the defensive mindset to really come back and do it like a Kante or a Makelele or a Fabinho or a Fernandinho or a Rodri. None of them have got the mindset to actually cover. Ronaldo used to come over and cover for Robertson. Henderson used to cover for Trent, and Fabinho used to be in the middle. And so we got an overdose of defensive mindset, and now we've got almost like no defensive mindset in that midfield. They just don't have that. It's not their first fault. One, most of them can't tackle very well. I'd say all 3 of them. To be honest, I put Jones. I don't think any of the midfielders can tackle very well. I don't think they read the game very well in terms of defensive, just patterns of play and just, sort of sniffing out the danger. I don't think that's really their attributes. But yeah, for me, it's a little bit of both. I think we're papering over not just cracks, but some gaping sort of chasms and gaps that are really very large in the squad, in the team 11, in whatever sort of vision that Slot and the management have. I can see that they want the ball to get to Wirtz and Wirtz to thread the balls into Isak, but how that can be done with the whole structure around the team, whilst creating more up front, but equally remembering to actually support the defence at the same time. I'm just not seeing that. And maybe, like you say, maybe with those 3 or 4 additions in the summer, it's going to come down to the right 3 or 4. If they're not the right 3 or 4, I don't think we're going to be that further forward than what we are now. arguably with the people that could be going to be losing more players regardless this summer. If Allison goes, that's a drop off in terms of goalkeeper quality. If Mo goes, we've then still got to replace his goals because nobody's stepped up this season to do it. We haven't replaced Diaz's goals either. And that's from this season. So yeah, we've got to replace those goals. Robertson's going, which means Tsimikas probably is likely to be the one that gets brought back as cover. I would have thought. Still haven't solved the problem at right back, even though we brought Frimpong. So there's answers on a postcard, isn't it? More questions than answers, but turn a corner a little bit, I would say, in terms of mindset, in terms of work ethic. We've got the results. All I think about when I started the channel a few weeks ago, look, they're all about grinding out results, getting the job done. And that last 3 games, I said the home games are going to be key. We've chalked 2 of them off. Let's see if we can get a couple more wins in before we finish the season. Let's get that top 4, 5. Let's get in the Champions League and let's readdress and put right these wrongs from this year and this basically debacle, and let's sort of put the season to bed. Give Robbo and Mo the send off that they deserve. And then expunge this season to history, never to be discussed ever again, hopefully. So, hope you all guys have a great week. Speak to you more soon. You take care.